Welcome to the Time for Littles podcast. I'm Bruce C.E. Fleming, director of the Eden Schoolhouse Network, and we are at edenschoolhouse.com. We're interviewing today a special friend from Wooddale. What do you call your school? You call it Wooddale.
Academy.
There you go, Wooddale Academy. Her name is Jessica Sturgeon. We're delighted to spend these moments together with Jessica as we consider how God loves the littles in our lives. We love to talk about the ways we can help them grow in the Lord and in the wisdom and life skills they will be needing in the years ahead. So I was in a meeting the other day and I really wanted to talk to a certain person. And Jessica, you're the person I wanted to talk to. And the Lord brought us together. And so now we're able to have this time on the episode of Time for Littles. And I'd like to ask you one of our three questions. But before I jump into that, tell us a little bit about yourself. You have a husband and you have kids, and so let me think about this. Oh, I've got a bio here. Let me read it. It says Jessica Sturgeon is the executive director of Wooddale Academy in Eden Prairie and in Edina, Minnesota. So there's a story there, two locations. She has a teaching license in early childhood and a master's degree in educational leadership. Her experience ranges from home childcare, teaching overseas, in addition to teaching and leading in early childhood programs throughout the state of Minnesota. Her desire is to empower educators to know and love each child and partner with families for quality care and education. I want to jump in right away. You said teaching overseas. Where was that?
Yeah, so my family was called in 2015. We went to Ethiopia at Bingham Academy.
So Bingham,
Yes.
that's a famous name. Who was Bingham?
Bingham was a famous missionary that did a lot of beginning work in the field of missions.
That was Africa Inland Mission. Is that? Yeah.
hmm
Uh-huh.
hmm
And how many kids would go to Bingham Academy when you were there?
It was around 300 students, and it would represent around 35 countries. So it was a really diverse school from all over the world. We catered to missionary children that were in the country, and then also some of the local expat families, diplomat families, those kinds of things as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's find out about your life in the Lord. Let me ask you question number one. Did you come to Christ as a little, or did that happen later on?
It happened later on. I was 16. We weren't a church going family, wonderful parents, but we didn't attend church. But I always had this desire to know God. Like I've heard of God, wanted to know about him. And my grandparents on my dad's side went to church. And so I often would ask them to come and get me and bring
Oh,
them to church. So I would spend the weekends with them and go to church. And then at 16, a friend of mine was going to the Billy Graham Crusade and invited me to go along. And that was where I accepted Christ at 16 years old with Billy Graham.
was that the one here in the Twin Cities?
It was, yeah, one of his
Oh,
last ones here. Yep.
yeah. I had a canoe that had one of the bumper stickers from the. I didn't have a bumper, but I had it on the canoe. So we'd go around on the lakes and we'd advertise Billy Graham Crusade. Yeah,
It was amazing. Yeah,
and you found the Lord there.
I did. Yeah, I was there. Didn't A lot of my friends were going because of the band and the cons. Like DC Talk was there, Michael W. Smith was there, and I didn't know any of those things. But the Lord knew I needed to be there, so it was a life changing moment for sure.
Hmm. So how did you end up getting a master's degree in educational leadership and working at Wooddale from a Billy Graham crusade? There's some steps in the middle there that must have taken place. Yeah,
Just a
just
few
a,
steps. Yeah, so I started going to youth group with friends, things like that. I ended up at Crown College when I graduated high school. So I went to Crown for my bachelor's in early childhood education. I met my husband there. He has a child and family ministry degree. He
oh,
was from Nebraska. So we got married, had our children. We've got three kids. They're now all grown. And our oldest actually just graduated from Crown as well. So it was kind of a full circle moment. And she met her now husband at Crown as well. So it's kind of a cool full circle moment. It's a great school. Uh, so with after getting my degree, I taught in early childhood centers. I was a toddler teacher for years. Absolutely love those littles. And when my kids were small, I started doing my own home child care center so that I could be home with them. So I started my own business in my home and had my kids with me and invited those from the community to come. And it was my faith-based opportunity to share with these families and these littles that were coming to my home at the time. And then I went on to teaching in some preschools and at the YWCA downtown, getting to know the diverse population. That was a wonderful experience as well. And the Lord called us overseas actually in 2009. But it took us about 4 years of fundraising, raising support, finding those people to come along our journey, and then we taught over there. I did some homeschool work. I traveled the country and partnered with our homeschool families that couldn't attend the school and helped them with their education. And came back and started with another childcare company, faith-based company here as a regional director. Also did some early childhood leadership coaching with Center for Inclusive Childcare. And now here I am at Wooddale as the executive director. And um, yeah, it's interesting, 10, 15 years ago, you wouldn't have found me trying to share the gospel, being on a podcast, talking at churches, things like that. And when I look back on all of those different positions that the Lord brought me to, he was building me up for something. He had plans all along.
So now you've got big arms and a good outreach, and you've got two locations. How does that work out at the Wooddale Academy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So our Eden Prairie location has been around since the 70s, actually. It started with just a small preschool program, and it quickly grew to quite a few classrooms for just our preschool. And then within the last, I want to say 10 years or so, they opened it up to all daycare. So, and we have infants all the way up through those pre-Kers, and we have that summer camp where our school agers get to come back and visit us, which is a lot of fun. The Edina campus came a little bit later. It was open a couple years before COVID, closed down during COVID, and now it's been open again for the last 3 years almost. It's a smaller location, but we do the same curriculum. We have the same biblical foundation, and it's a great partnership with both of our locations. We have great teachers. Yeah, it's a great team. I just started in November, and I just can't say enough about the amazing work that the staff are doing.
So they surprise you, but they're good surprises.
Absolutely, yes.
So in the smaller location, tell me how many students you have and how many staff and how that works.
Yep. So our Edina campus has 5 classrooms, so one for each age group. So infant, toddler, older toddler, preschool, pre-K. And they are smaller classrooms. So at full enrollment, we can have about 50 children there. Depending on the age group, there's 1 or 2 teachers in there, sometimes 3, depending on the needs of the kiddos. And so it's a smaller site, which smaller class sizes, which is really nice. A lot of parents really look for that small family feel, which Edina really has.
So they would drop their kids off at what time and pick them up at what time?
Yeah, our hours are 8 to 4:30. Parents can come in anytime in that morning time and towards the end of the day. Most of them will take the full day for the most part. We do have options for like 3 days a week, 4 days a week, that kind of thing, if they don't need that 5-day care.
Mhm. So you fill them up with lots of sugar just before the pickup time.
Great question. We actually have our own chef at the Eden Prairie campus that feeds both of our locations. So he cooks our food from scratch. I mean, our chicken strips are fresh, hand breaded, all of those kinds of things. We have a garden on site during those warmer months that he can pick different produce from. And yeah, we believe fully in what we put in our body is important. And so that's a big benefit to a lot of our families for sure.
So when a little these are little is dropped
Yes.
off in a church, what kind of impression does that give them that I'm going to church or I'm going to preschool or what are they thinking?
That's a great question. I think all of our kids and families would say they're going to school.
Hmm.
I do know in being new to this position, talking to my families and learning about their perspectives, a lot of it has been, it feels like a family. They learn about the Lord. They love the faith based aspect that our teachers are building that foundation, building those relationships. But we really do see it as a school. We are, childcare. We're licensed by the state. We have our NACI accreditation, all of those things. But we really do see it as that foundational school for those littles.
Now, you've got a bigger location that's out at the main Wooddale campus. Uh,
Mhm.
you're downstairs. I think I've wandered through the building. It's a huge building.
It is.
And I got all of a sudden the walls are no longer beige, but they're color. And can you describe and you and I were at this conference, they were talking about the value of physical layout and stuff.
Yes.
If we walked into these classrooms for you, where you have your preschool on our knees, like they recommended, because
Mhm.
that's the height the littles are at, could you tell us what those littles are experiencing?
That is a great question. I love that. Yeah, so we have two areas at our Eden Prairie campus that are secured. So we have our nursery area, which is where our infants and toddlers are, and we've got our preschool wing where our preschoolers are. And I think the biggest thing that I can say our kids would see is coming in is the cleanliness piece. We're very intentional about the equipment and the toys that we put around the children. A lot of our teachers have a big heart for nature based learning.
Uh,
So you'll see a lot of those natural components, really teaching them about God's creation and experiencing all of those things.
mhm. So you've got what's different about the bigger campus? What do they get there? What's the benefit of that?
Yeah, so Eden Prairie can have up to about 160, 165 kids. And we have a half day program at the Eden Prairie campus. So for those families where they maybe want a half day, their kiddo doesn't need a full day, they can come from that 8:30 to 1 o'clock time slot, still get all of that education and that wonderful lunch that I shared about. But then they also get that home time as well. So that's a big perk at the Eden Prairie campus. We also have at Eden Prairie the summer program that I mentioned, where those school agers get to come back and see their friends and their teachers. And we do fun field trips and things with them as well. And then our Eden Prairie campus actually has an outdoor classroom that we utilize
Huh?
where the kids can go outside and there's an easel and there's a place where the teachers can sit down and do activities and lessons out on that playground. We even have the rain suits that the kids can wear so they can go out there no matter what weather is
Yeah,
happening and just be a part of God's creation, which is really great.
yeah, dancing in the rain. Yeah.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. They love it, right? Who doesn't love splashing in puddles and making a mess, right?
It reminds me now, you mentioned Bingham Academy. We raised our firstborn in the Central African Republic. And every afternoon on the rainy season, all of a sudden the clouds would dark. And then all of a sudden there would be the wind would come across. And I would gather our little, my wife would be, let's say, teaching, so me. And we would kind of get in the corner of the porch where it was going to pretty much stay dry. And then we would just cuddle and sing Bible songs and stuff, and the humidity would get higher, and the wind would get better, and the sky would be dramatic, and the storm would come by, and she didn't fear the thunder at all because we were together. Those are
Yes.
special moments.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's beautiful. Yeah, I loved the rainy season when we were in Africa as well. Like it's a different experience with the rain than it
yeah.
is here.
They know it's life-giving. Rain is very
Hmm.
important for life. And then there was the mango rains, a different time of the year, and so we
Oh,
had
wow.
lots of rain. So tell me, how does somebody become a staff person at your Wooddale Academy?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, we always have application available on the website. So that would be just the practical step, right? Going to the website, applying. We look for teachers that are of our faith, right? That have those biblical affirmations that we can make sure that our children are getting that consistency in the classroom. They don't have to necessarily attend Wooddale, but we hope that they are attending a biblical church somewhere in the area so we can keep that for our children and families. The state has requirements for teacher qualifications. Most of our teachers here have at least a 4-year degree. Not all of them, but most of them do, because we really are looking for that high level of education and care, so that they're building that important foundation. A lot of our development happens in those first 5 years. So we really want to make sure we keep that a priority.
We had the privilege of talking to Heather Fleece from your church a couple of
Yes, she's
couple.
wonderful.
She's amazing, yeah, and she's got all the energy you need for junior highs, which is a
Absolutely.
good fit for her. Um, but in between, what do you do for kindergarten on up? What do you have staff that do that at your church? How do they minister to the big littles?
That's a good question. So, one thing as far as the academy goes, I've been recently starting to reach out to some of our local faith-based schools because our families ask, like, where do we go from here? Right? We don't necessarily want this type of school. We want this type of school. And so I'm trying to build that community and those connections for our families. Within the church, we have a wonderful children's ministry program, Camp Woods Kids. We have our VBS program. We've got Wednesday night programming, Sunday programming, phenomenal volunteers and teachers, and our pastoral staff. They do a really good job. I think that's a big strength of Wooddale, is really investing in our littles for sure.
Yeah. So you go to different churches. I do, you do, and then they have this little printer. It gives them the name tags and check them out and do all that. And it's on their back or wherever the name tag goes. You're trying to
Yep.
keep track of them, and you check them in. And so security is important. Um, what's the connection between the kids that come to Sunday school and the kids that come to preschool?
Mm.
Like are they the same? Are the Sunday school teachers the one they're going to find in your daycare, or how does that work out?
Yeah, so yes and no. A lot of our staff do volunteer in the children's ministry on Sunday if they consider Wooddale their home church. But we do have families that come for their school and the academy during the week that attend other churches on the weekends. We obviously always encourage our families to come to Wooddale and be a part of the community. We're always inviting, but we don't require that.
Mhm.
So it's kind of a mix of both. We do have quite a bit of overlap. But it's kind of up to the parents and their choice. And I think one of the great things about my role and with the direction that the church is going is building that partnership between the church and the academy. How can we do it better? How can we build relationships? How can we encourage our families to be a part of the wonderful community here at Wooddale?
Mhm. So your church is renowned for its music program. You've got that world class, huge wall pipe organ,
Largest
and
one in the state, I think I heard.
I can believe it. And how do you do music with little kids?
Hmm. We actually have a music teacher at both of our locations that do a couple specialized classes throughout the week to teach kids musical components. Our teachers, obviously, at the early childhood brain development is so important with music. It really speaks to the children. So our teachers use it regularly for circle times and transitions and just fun games, those kinds of things. Twice a year, we do put on some musical programs. We have our big Christmas program that we do every year with our preschool families. And then we have our spring program coming up in May that ties in with our graduation of those preschoolers that are going to be moving on from our spot. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we love music. It's a great way to tie in worshiping the Lord, right?
Can you give us where they would go to find out that information? What's your Wooddale dot whatever address that people could go to?
Yeah, so if you go to wooddaleacademy.org, that is specifically for the academy. You can also go to wooddale.org, the church website, and if you scroll down, you can find the academy link there as well.
And that's spelled W double O double D. So
Correct. ALE. Yep.
it's three doubles. There's a W and double O and double Wooddale. That's great. We've been working with children for a long time in our family, our household, and um, one of the things we've discovered when we were involved in starting south with Christian high school, there was a number of people the Lord brought together, and The vision we had back then, the example, the model we had was a public high school. And so Southwest Christian High School now looks like a public high school. You've got 29 acres and huge physical plan and 55
Mhm.
staff and 530
Mhm.
students or more. So they look public. What's your model for the preschool? You mentioned you were involved with a previous organization. So
Mhm.
what's the difference between that organization, for example, that I assume that was faith-based, and
Mhm.
a non-faith, let's try three of them then. A non-faith-based organization, the one that you did work in, and the one you're doing now. Is there a difference at all? They're all the same age kids, but how do you deal differently with the kids?
Yeah. Wow. That's a big question. I like that one. I think when you're thinking about your non faith based programs, there's still a lot of great programs out there, right? They teach our kids how to be lifelong learners and how to be good people to one another, right? So it still can be very great programming. Obviously, the biggest part that's missing is the why and the how. Like, how did we get here? How do we love one another as God loves us, right? You're limited in what you can share with the kids as far as the faith part goes.
Mm.
The other faith based organization I was with was a for profit. And so it was a different scenario of we really brought the faith based piece as much as we could, but we weren't um, affiliated with a church, right? So we didn't require staff to be of the same faith or of any faith, but we did ask them to teach the curriculum that we had. And so I think that was a unique opportunity to have a lot of outreach for families that came for the childcare programming and then also got some seeds planted towards the faith. And I think we see that at Wooddale as well. I think we still have a lot of families that come here because we are well known in the community for quality education, right? So parents want that for their child to know that they're set up well for their future. But a lot of people also seek us out because they know that we're very much grounded in biblical truths. And we're very intentional about placing that into the kids' lives and in their hearts. And partnering with family is like things are hard in our world. Um, as time goes on, right? It just seems to kind of be harder. And so, really partnering with families and planting them in a community as well to build each other up as they're raising their children in the faith through all of the challenges that the world can throw at us.
Yeah. Our,
Yeah.
my wife's mother was involved in starting the Ministry of Bible Study Fellowship in the Upper Midwest. And so she wanted to get her grandkids in the Bible Study Fellowship preschool program. And
Mm.
so he did, she did, they did, and they learned a lot. And then we had a local preschool down the block here in a church. And I remember our 3-year-old coming home after the first, maybe the second time. And I'm wondering, what did he learn in the Bible Study Fellowship group? You might hear a song or something. What did he learn in this other place? And he came home and he said, Mark must share. So I think there was a toy or something that he wanted, he
Yep,
wanted
yep.
Mark must share. So the kids are different. We had one that the slogan that we used with her is the happy way is to obey.
Hmm.
And so we would remind her of that. Oh, okay, she would obey. And then with this other one, we changed it. That was obey right away. So
That's good. The
we
rhyming, yeah, that's
yeah,
that's
but we had to make it a
powerful.
little more strict. So how do you keep track of the kids? Is there an individual list? So this kid is, good at this one's that, how do you keep track of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of steps involved in that. I think our teachers know our kids, right? So they know when a child's missing. They know when it's like if they're homesick or things like that, missing in the center, but missing because they're at home sick,
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Uh-huh.
I think we use an app that keeps track of attendance. It allows us to communicate regularly with parents. We're sending photos home. Parents are reaching out, asking, checking in. And then with our curriculum, a lot of what the teachers are doing is going, okay, well, here's where the child is, here's where they need to be. How do we get them there? And building that plan based on what that child needs. Doing regular observations and assessments and just kind of checking in. I think the biggest part that I really appreciate about our teachers is partnering with the families of like, hey, this is what we're seeing. What are
Yeah.
you seeing at home?
Yeah.
What can we do together to,
Yeah.
get this child to the next step or whatever they're growing in?
Yeah. So now our family, we have grandkids and they're elementary age. So they're past your window there. And
Mm-hmm.
my wife said, maybe we need maybe we need to start another school.
Mm,
Maybe we could start something just special for them. And I said, well, if we do, I'd like to do multiple campuses. And let me look around. And so when we did the high school, we modeled it on the public school. And then after that got started, there were no charter schools, and all of a sudden now there are charter schools everywhere.
yeah.
And homeschools weren't that big, but now there's a lot of homeschools, a lot of places. So I was
Mm-hmm.
looking around and I discovered something, and I didn't even know what the name of it was at the time, but now I've discovered the name is da 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 micro schools. And every micro school has a micro, no, they don't have a microwave, but so the idea was to take these homeschool, private school combinations and put them together. And it's like a one-room schoolhouse. Maybe this room, though, has two or three grades, and that room has two or three grades. Have you had any experience with that or observed that as you've gone along?
It's very similar to some of the work we did in Ethiopia. I
Oh,
haven't come into contact with it here yet, so I was really intrigued to learn more about it. But in Ethiopia, I learned when I worked with our homeschool families there the importance of community. And I think because it can be so isolating to teach alone, right? To feel like you're kind of in your own bubble almost,
yeah,
to really lean on each other. So I love the idea of the micro school, having somebody that can help teach aspects, can really partner again, that partnership with families.
hmm,
I think that's phenomenal because I did a co-op when I was in Ethiopia. So the
oh yeah,
families that were in the city,
yeah,
we would do a co-op and they would come once or twice a week and we would do group lessons. Again, it's building those social skills that maybe they wouldn't have opportunity to if they were at home, solely at home. So I think, yeah, I think it's a phenomenal idea. And as I said, I've been partnering and trying to reach out to schools in the area.
mhm.
So it's really great to hear that this opportunity is out there as well, because I think there are a lot of parents that need to hear that this is an option out there.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got a location over by the Edina High School now. They want us to and this is the name we're calling an Eden Family Schoolhouse.
It's
So
beautiful.
the wonderful insights from the Garden of Eden, the relationship with God right there in the garden, in the family, in the family of God too, in the church building. We call it the schoolhouse in God's house.
Hmm.
And then the one room schoolhouse, multiple ages. You spend 2 or 3 years with the same teacher who really gets to know you.
That's great.
The older kids can care for the younger kids like in a multi-child family situation.
Hmm.
So, wow. So if I wanted to learn more about, like, I want to come back to your Wooddale Academy. Can How would somebody visit during the school day? Do you have a zoo window that they can look through, or how do they do that?
I mean, people are welcome to come by. We will greet you friendly at the door.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're welcome to call and ask questions. You can go to the website. There's a form you can fill out to set up a tour.
Uh-huh.
And there's lots of information on the website as well to
Yeah.
answer questions that you might have.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jessica. We've been spending time with Jessica Sturgeon from Wooddale Academy, both locations in Edina and Eden Prairie. And we really appreciate your sharing your life story and your ministry there at Wooddale. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we'll keep in touch.